Black Lives Matter. The emerge of racism. I have chosen to discuss the background of racial injustice. I chose this topic because I think it is vital for us to know what causes the prejudices which have influenced and still are influencing many lives. Racism is a problem all around the world. But why? How did it begin? And would it have been different if the majority of the world population were black, not white? Human beings often like to classify each other. It gives a feeling of solidarity and sometimes superiority. The more people in a classification, the better for that group of people. It empowers the big group to treat every non-member as subordinates. Maybe you have experienced it yourself. Being an outsider, that everyone had the same pair of shoes, except you. A fact which made you feel ashamed or even humiliated. The racial injustice of black people is based on the same problem, just bigger. This is not just 10 mean girls gossiping about shoes. It is about groups in the population who do not approve of those who are different from themselves. They only look on the outside, the skin color, not the inside. The problem is that people over decades haven't dared to inveigh against these prejudices, because then they would risk of being treated the same way as the black people, as garbage. In earlier days, there were rules to divide black and white people from each other in many countries, hereunder the US. These laws were called the Jim Crow laws. Every single black man and woman was convicted to a life as a slave who had to sit in the back of the bus, go to bad schools, and being treated like shit of those white people who thought they were better than them. This was the case even to black people who had obvious infrequent talents. For instance, Jesse Owens. He was the fastest man in the world, but it took a long time for people to realize that. In the movie Hidden Figures, 3 mathematical geniuses in the 50s are underestimated, even though they were by far the smartest who could help solving all the challenges in NASA. The white male colleagues were metamorphosed by the fact that every black woman had to be a housemaid who would cook their food and clean their water closets. Rosa Parks, a black woman from the US living in the 50s, experienced the injustice herself, like many others. She fought for justice by neglecting to give her seat upon the bus, a decision which was an example for every black person who wanted equal footing. These small moments have made a huge difference for the black population. However, we still have a way to go in order to abolish racism in the world. We never know how things turn out, but I doubt that it would have been different if the majority of people were black. If you ask me why I think so, I would say that most human beings have a certain degree of ignorance and the urge to feel as a part of a group. Maybe we also like when people have to obey our orders. It will never stop if we do not learn how to provide it. how to stand together instead of beating each other.